the new term. We've got some really exciting things that we're going to cover tonight. Our agenda for tonight is going to be to talk about, for a brief moment, the K-Prep 2024 standards, which have dropped. I don't know how many of you know that, what it means for us as a department, how those are going to be rolled out, and what you can expect. And then we're going to get into some really great advocacy stuff. And so I'm actually going to turn it over to Dr. E for a few. And Dr. E, are you ready? All right, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. E and let her get us started in the conversation. And feel free to put questions in the chat, and Colleen and I will monitor the chat so that if there's something pressing, Dr. E, we can let you know.
Sounds good. Well, hi, everybody. Happy Tuesday. And for anyone who doesn't know me, I'm Dr. E or Dr. Eldridge, and I'm out of Denver, Colorado. And I'm one of your full-time faculty, but another role that I have is as our curriculum co-lead. So I am very much immersed right now in helping our department get our curriculum aligned with the new 2024 K-CREP standards so that we can show K-CREP and the rest of the profession that our program continues to be on the cutting edge and is up to date. What that means for all of you is that you're going to start to see some updates to your courses. One way that you're going to see this is updated readings and media and learning materials. So we will always want those to be current. We want them to be peer reviewed, and we want them to directly align with the new K-CREP standards. So you're seeing some new textbooks, you're seeing some new articles. You will also see some new grading rubrics. So your discussion assignments are going to be updated with a new rubric. Your written assignments, some of you may have noticed, they used to be worth 30 points. They are now worth 40 points. And even in the discussion assignments, they're still worth the same amount of points, but you'll see that some of the requirements have been updated. So we really want to let you all know that it will be in your best interest to take a look at those grading rubrics before you complete an assignment. So that you know exactly what the expectations are. Let's see. So grading rubrics, a new thing that you're going to see in every single class that has not been in every class before is both a midterm exam and a final exam. And this is not to cause you pain. It's actually with the very clear intention of helping to set you up to be very successful in some of the national comprehensive counseling exams that you will take both at the end of this program as a graduation requirement and as a licensure requirement to get professional licensure in your given states. So these exams, we've designed them to model the format of those comprehensive counseling exams so that you will be very well versed, very practiced, and ideally experience a lot less test anxiety when it comes time to take those kind of big ticket exams. But that is new for us in this program. So, you know, just know that it's going to be normal to feel a little test anxiety this term, maybe if you haven't had classes that have had exams before. So we've put in the classes some tips for studying for exams. We've got really great resources within the Chicago School, you know, online student learning center, and you can always reach out to your instructors for tips or guidance as well. But those exams are going to be timed, and you're going to get one attempt at completing them. So it's a really good idea to be taking notes when you read your required course readings, to be studying with your peers, forming study groups, you know, all of that stuff. But absolutely reach out to us if you need some tips or some support or some help. What we're doing, we're still in the middle of, so we've updated all the courses that are live right now, that you're all in right now, and we're going to also continue to do that for next term and the following term. So by summer, your entire curriculum will be updated and aligned with the 2024 standards, which really is, I mean, I think, of course, I'm biased, but I think we're leading the way for other counseling graduate programs and how on top of this we are. So, of course, there are growing pains. You know, if you notice issues or hiccups in your classes, let your instructors know. And, we're trying to tackle any problems that come up as soon as we can.
And
So,
for the CES,
Yeah.
CES program, you will notice that your classes start to shift sometime over the summer to the new standards. And so the goal is that by the end of fall, every class will have many upgrades. And one of the things that was really important, and if you were the subject matter expert of a class, feel free to come up and talk to the students about this, because tonight we're talking about advocacy. And one of the things as advocates of the profession that we thought was really important, you're going to notice that the readings and the materials have a much more diverse feel, that you can. I always say that it's important for our students because often you may not know your instructor before you take the class, but you've encountered the readings, or you've looked at the syllabus before you've interacted with your instructor, you've begun the readings, and so you've already established a relationship with the material, right? And so it's really important for us that we hear the diverse voices from our field. Those will be the diverse voices of our clients. That's our diverse voices. So it's really important that we capture some of that. You'll also see what looks like a decimal on your syllabi. We want to talk about the importance of those numbers tonight. Those are direct links to what standard, that activity, that reading is meant to meet. So we were so very intentional that we took all the standards, and there's one-to-one alignment between every reading, every resource, every activity, everything you do in the course is meant to really zoom in on those standards. And so everything that has been placed in the new classes has been very intentional. Any of the SMEs want to come offline and say more about that? Dr. Robinson, I see you. I'm going to ask you.
We've just been very intentional in making sure that you all really come into the program feeling a bit more equipped, and really knowing what you're going to be really getting yourself into. I specifically teach Introduction to Counseling and the ethics course. So a lot of the beginning students are really familiarizing themselves with the profession, the importance of cultural competency, the importance of self-care, really understanding, what ethics is, what it means to you, like how does it apply to you as a student. So you'll find that a lot of the assignments, a lot of the course readings are geared towards making sure that you get a basis in working knowledge as you move towards just more of your core coursework in the next course. I hope that kind of answers some of those. I don't have any specifics that I can draw on at this time, but the hope is that you'll really get a good working knowledge of, who we are as a program, and what the expectations are for you moving forward.
And it really, the other thing that the new changes really align with, Dr. E and I were at a session at ACES. Gosh, that seems like a year ago, but I guess it was October. Was it October? It was October. We're going to go with October. And one of the things that KCREP was talking about was the importance of really strengthening the professional identity of the counselor and the counselor educator, and that was the hope with some of the new standards. When Colleen sends out the recording for tonight, I'm going to have her also send out the link for the KCREP standards, so that you got the new KCREP standards, so you guys can take a look at them. Pay close attention to a couple of things. The glossary is new and improved. The language that they use is really plain and not technical on purpose, so that everyone can get a really good understanding of what the expectations are. And really, that acts like the contract for the program. That's the expectation, right, Dr. Dixon? I'm going to put you on the spot as our KCREP liaison.
That's correct. Thank you. I'm actually working on that right now. So, yeah, we'll keep you updated on everything. We have, matter of fact, we are waiting for a few things to hit the website, and as soon as they do, we'll send them out to the CS students and the CMHC students, so you know what's been going on in our program, what things are actually looking like, what kind of data we're reporting to the public, to your site supervisors, to
To you
your
as the student.
employers, you as a student, your future employers will be on there. I think Colleen the other day, I think it was something like 1,200 names, maybe. This is a ridiculous number of folks that that we'll share everything with, and that's not even counting you guys as students that will get that information out to you relatively quickly.
Yeah, we
You
had
know-
almost 800 external participants.
Extra, okay.
You know, the other thing that's really important as we start delivering all of this information so that you're an informed consumer is also that there are going to be lots of opportunities for you to volunteer your time, for you to be involved. And so as those, and we're going to talk about one of those ways tonight, I think that this is a perfect segue. There are going to be lots of opportunities for you to be involved and engaged in the process. And don't worry if you're about to graduate and you're like, all of this is coming a little too late for me. It's not. You'll still get the same opportunities as an alumni to participate and engage with the program. And so are Hannah or Ann on the call tonight? Colleen, do you know? Hannah or Ann, are you on the call?
Hi, it's Ann. I'm here.
Hey, Ann, I'm going to put you on the spot.
Okay.
So Hannah and Ann came up with this wonderful idea. I'm not going to steal the thunder. I'm going to let Ann talk about you guys' wonderful idea that you guys sent to the faculty the other day that is forthcoming to students. So do you want to share?
Yes, absolutely. Hannah and I are both students in different years. So Hannah actually came up with the idea and I was just like, this is awesome. So with the virtual conference coming up, we really wanted to see if there was any help that students could offer to faculty in pairing them with their research interests. So there are things that we want to learn and there are things that they are currently experts in that we could learn from. So we decided to have a form that faculty will be able to fill out to tell us about their research interests and their expertise and what modalities they specialize in. And one will be going out to students as well to see the same things of what their interests may be in so that they can be paired together.
So we'll have a match day, which is really kind of fun and exciting, right? And so our virtual conference, for those of you who have not attended or don't know a lot about it, I'm actually going to tag, I saw Dr. Crowley. Dr. Crowley, do you want to talk?
Yeah. So, hi everyone. My name is Dr. Crowley. I am one of your full-time faculty members in the CMHC program as well. So just wanting to very excitedly announce to everyone that we have our dates for our annual spring conference. I'm sorry, annual virtual conference held every spring. It is our 7th virtual conference that we will be holding. And the dates of that conference are going to be May 14th through the 18th. We have a proposal link that if it isn't already live, will be going live. Which affords the opportunity to submit proposals to be presented at the conference. There are some requirements for the qualifications, credentials of the lead presenter. That is all listed when you click the proposal link. And the other really exciting part about this is the conference is free to everyone. So it's a wonderful opportunity for you to attend a variety of workshops offered over the course of 4 days, all of them, of course, virtually through Zoom rooms, and to get just a wide exposure to a lot of wonderful workshops that will be offered. Our theme this year is Empowering Diverse Voices. So that's going to be the theme underlying the workshops that are approved for presentation, and you'll have individuals from our program, from our campus from our university as a whole, and then even external presenters that will also present workshops.
And I was trying to do the math, and Colleen, help me if I get my math wrong, but during COVID, ACA couldn't hold a conference. And so we welcomed people who could not come to the ACA conference into our conference. And since the conference, with that, and since the conference beginning, we've had over 5,000 attendees in individual sessions. So it's very well attended. It's very well respected in the counseling community. And so when Anne and Hannah send out this link, think about that. Think about, like Dr. E, for instance, is very prolific in the work she does with human sex trafficking. And so that might be an interest area of yours. If it is, include that. And who knows, you may get linked up with Dr. E if she plans on putting in conference proposals. And I mean, what a great, I don't know if we have any doc students who presented at conferences on the call. I'm going to tag you. It's a wonderful opportunity for students, right? I come off and talk about your experience.
Yeah, it really is. It's a great chance for doctoral students to talk about your interests, your area of expertise. I already have an idea of what I want to propose for this year. And then also just to connect in a different way with attendees, the master students, the faculties that come to our presentations, spread ideas. I got a chance to connect with a couple of different external viewers during my last presentation, which was great for my dissertation research. So it was a really wonderful opportunity, and I love seeing all the different workshops that are available during the conference.
And who knows, it could be that a doc student or two, a faculty member, and a couple of master students have the same interests, and they all get to work together. So we're really excited about the possibility of I would like to have a record-breaking year of the number of students on proposals this year. So really think about it. We're going to try and honor as many of those as we can in terms of connecting faculty members to students. So really think about whether or not that's something you want to do. And that is another great segue into the rest of what we intend on talking about tonight. And I would consider that conference as macro advocacy. It is bringing members of the professional community together to really learn, to know, to grow the profession, to move the profession forward. And so tonight, the plan is that we're going to ask full-time faculty members to come off and talk about their experiences and being involved with micro, meso, and macro advocacy, because we're all involved in different kinds of ways. And as they talk, if you have questions or comments, please put them in the chat. Because again, advocacy is one of the pillars of the work we do as counselors. It's also very heavily embedded into the mission of our university. So I'm not going to necessarily tag a faculty member to start, but if you are a faculty member and you'd like to kick us off and get us started, I almost want to tag somebody because I see somebody in my view that does a lot. I think I'm just going to tag Dr. Moore. You're it. She knew it.
I knew it. I was like, I knew it. I knew it. Okay. All right. Well, where do I start? Okay. So, for those of you who know me, first of all, I have a son that has autism. And so that became a, new passion of mine, not just because I had a son with autism, but recognizing there are limited resources, but me being a counselor and knowing I know how to access resources, I know how to advocate, I know how to do these things, but for parents who don't, it's really, really, really challenging. So early in my journey, so what I've done is I started a support group for mothers of children, I say caretakers, mothers of children with autism, and helping them access resources and just kind of providing just general support. From that, and I continue to do that, but from that, my son got involved with horseback riding therapy. And so I volunteer for that organization, from everything from actually working with the kiddos and helping, but also with event planning, fundraising, all of those things, and have pretty much become board member and all of that. And from that, it came from even advocating. So now I'm advocating. My new journey is in the public schools. My son's in middle school, and you can't, he can't join the soccer team. He can't join the volleyball team. He can't join the swim team because he doesn't qualify, because can't perform. So I'm working on some advocacy efforts there to try to see what we can do to have the opportunities for special needs kids to be able to participate in sports. And then on the national level with that, I present and also provide opportunities for students who are passionate about working with this population to present nationally at conferences to educate other counselors and counselors in training about this, how to work with this population and advocate. The other thing is that I do a lot of expert witness courtroom testimony and a lot of work with high conflict divorce, abuse, trauma, court systems. Dr. Foster and I do a lot of work in presenting and educating counselors and other mental health and court professionals in that area. So I recently have been working with over the last several years with American Counseling Association and creating some continuing education seminars, and just did one where we updated a series of continuing education. I guess they're webinars and some other things. I don't know. They haven't figured out exactly how they're going to put it together. But it is to educate counselors in training on the court system and how to protect yourself from legal liability on all of those things. So that's another thing. And actually just got my little certificate of gratitude and accomplishment and appreciation from the American Counseling Association for my work in that area. So I think that's all for now.
Thank you. Dr. Clark?
Yeah, come on. I'm just like, how do I follow that with like my advocacy efforts? Thanks, Colleen. Thanks.
Somebody
that
has
is
to do it.
impressive. So here's what I do. I mean, so I am also someone who specializes in child and adolescent counseling. So just want to throw that out there to start, that a lot of what advocacy looks like for me and my journey has been how to advocate for young people. And so I actually love this discussion because when I was in my master's program, we would do all these papers and forums and discussions around advocacy. But I'm like, yeah, that sounds great, but like, what do I do, right? Like, what does it look like to actually do it? And so like on a micro level, what that looks like with clients and children is really supporting them in their systems that they're a part of. So things like attending IEP meetings, individual education plans, or 504 meetings, where obviously with the permission of the family, I advocate for them to have access to support at their schools that they're at, and really working with parents and the systems that they're a part of, other caregivers, other support professionals to coordinate care. Now, early on, I realized, like, from a macro level, I need a little more hand-holding and like what to do. So I just literally went to the Association of Child and Adolescent Counseling. I was like, do y'all need some help with something? I had no idea. And they're like, yeah, like, let's get you involved as a grad student representative. And from there, I kind of helped with some volunteering and with their virtual conference. And then that turned into really doing a lot of research on child counseling competencies and what makes child counseling unique. And really, that was my dissertation research, and I'm working on publishing standards for child counseling. And on the board there, hope to be elected president of ACAC. And so, yeah, so I'm really just kind of working my way into various roles with ACAC, because that really made sense to me to kind of go to an ACA division and see what I could do. And it's been awesome working with them. And so I just want to shout out to that. If you're looking for, some ways to get involved and you're like, where do I go? Go to, or the organizations, either your state chapter or ACA or an ACA division that makes sense for your background. So always reach out. We're always looking for people, ACAC included, for support. So that's my plug, and I will end there.
All right, we'll switch to Dr. Colarusso.
Oh, I thought it was going to be after Dr. Dixon, but okay. My name is Dr. Colarusso. How I advocate, similar to Dr. Clark, I encourage just kind of joining different organizations and asking what they need. I'm a part of NARACIS it's the North Atlantic region for Association for Counselors Education. So essentially it's like all of those North Atlantic states, so like Pennsylvania, New York, all of those states up the East Coast. And I work with them on their wellness committee. And what I got into that was Dr. Dixon and I do a lot of advocacy, not necessarily for our profession, but for clients in populations that we work with, but students. We do a lot of advocating for sites and different sites that we work with, and bigger sites to kind of advocate to say, hey, we want students to come with us. I am a big believer that, you know, we have to define, if we don't define our roles as counselors, someone else will define them for us, and it's not going to be how we define it. So we need to be able to identify and be really clear about what our role is and advocate for who we are as a person in this profession as well.
Thank you. Dr. Crowley, are you ready?
Sure. So I'll piggyback off of just what Dr. Colarusso was saying regarding students. So on a micro level, as a faculty heavily involved in the fieldwork and site placement process, I do work very closely with students and advocating for them and teaching them to self-advocate through mentoring. And leading by example. So this isn't just pertaining to the clients, but it's also the work that we do for students. So for our CES students in Town Hall tonight, there's a lot of responsibility that we have for advocating, not just for our students and not just for our clients and not just for the profession, but also for our students as well. So I do that on a regular basis. I translate that into working with students on presenting at workshops, presenting at conferences, traveled all over the US and met up with students at different conferences and presented with them, oftentimes the very first time that they're presenting in person, and they find it very helpful to have a faculty member that they're familiar with there, getting them involved in the professional practice and association work as well. On a client perspective, I do a lot of advocacy in the state in which I live regarding some of the changes that are happening from a legislative perspective, but how it's impacting clients in their daily life. And so sometimes that means really having to, help clients dig through their insurance provider's website on who might be an available provider of a certain service, and then helping them cross-reference that with other sites that help them know if it is a service provider that would be welcoming and accepting of them. So the two target populations I work the most with are substance and addiction abusers and the LGBTQ+ population. So there's a lot of advocacy that I have to do with my clients and on behalf of my clients when it comes to access to care and access to services here in the state that I live in, which also means that I spend a lot of time keeping up with the Counseling Compact and learning what the Counseling Compact is doing, where it is in process, what developments are being made, because while it's certainly going to impact me as a counselor and the work that I do as a counselor educator and supervisor, it's also going to impact access to service for clients. So I want to make sure that I'm keeping on top of what's happening with the Counseling Compact. I do a lot of, as my colleagues have also mentioned, work with our professional associations. I serve on multiple committees of multiple professional associations. I am the state branch trustee for SAGE, meaning I assist states that are looking to either rejuvenate existing state branches or start new state branches in their states. I also serve on IOC's Ethics Committee, where we are working on ethical revisions related to NADAC's Code of Ethics, as well as the ethical practice of integrating mental health and substance abuse counseling. So over the years, I have very actively been involved in many professional associations at the state level, at the local level, even at the national level. I find it very helpful to be involved. It helps me know what resources are available for students and clients, but also me as a professional as I continue to develop myself through continuing education, credentialing, things of that nature. And then when we get to looking at sort of the macro level and the advocacy that I do there, is I have served on quite a few days on the Hill, both here in the state that I live in, as well as in DC, where I join other counseling professionals to meet with state and local legislators and representatives to advocate for changes in laws or to advocate for certain bills to not be passed. And I find this work to be really important when it comes to advocating for, again, students, clients, and the profession as a whole, to be willing to stand up and speak to these individuals about my experience sort of living in the trenches and doing the actual work, since legislators and representatives generally do not come from a background of being a counselor themselves, yet they are tasked with making the laws that impact our profession. So.
Thank you. Dr. Van Meter?
Hi, I'm Dr. Van Meter. I'm a full-time faculty here at the Chicago School. Most of you know me, some of you may not. Advocacy is my passion work for sure. So it's definitely an area that I tend to soak myself into, which is also why I'm not doing as many presentations this year as I usually do. So I typically, I offer free resources in our community, things like counseling, trauma-informed yoga, and spaces where most people lack access to care and counseling. I help find families who struggle with housing and who have struggled with addiction. And so I help work with a nonprofit here for basic needs of resources and find them homes and local spaces for their children and childcare. I'm also in contact with a lot of legislators. I live in Florida, just like Dr. Crowley was saying. So we have a lot of work that we have to do here, but I help plan and speak at equity and reproductive rights rallies. And I assist with the Rainbow Railroad, which is finding and helping families exit states who are at risk due to harmful laws that harm their family units. And so I also I'm on multiple boards and volunteer by offering free trauma and affirming care services. I help offer free international services with human trafficking survivors, counselors, educators, and first responders, because during COVID and the pandemic, we found that there was an increase of vicarious and secondary trauma for those who were first responders, educators, counselors. Like our work revved up while everybody else's may have slowed, or it probably didn't slow, but there was a little bit more flexibility. And so ours just kept getting heavier and heavier. And so we offer free services internationally for that, holistic type of services. And then I also volunteer internationally as a courtroom and case advocate for sexual violence victims in the United States and in Canada. I'm currently assisting with 2 major state and federal investigations while offering training to the police departments locally and county and internationally in Canada as I'm working primarily with the detectives, the investigators, and offering trauma-informed and culturally focused care because I think we often look at trauma, but we forget to do the culturally focused part as well. And so that's kind of my niche right now. But it shifts and it changes. But that's all of the advocacy that I'm doing right now. I feel like advocacy is a huge part of what we do, and it's a part of who I am. So my identity.
Thank you. Dr. Troutman?
Hey, yes, sorry. I'm Dr. Troutman. I'm a full-time faculty member here. I'm sorry, I was wrapped up in news I shouldn't have been reading. Anyway, I'm kind of the reverse from Dr. Van Meter at the moment. I'm focusing a lot of my efforts on presenting and getting out to conferences and really focusing my efforts on the LGBT community. Our community is under attack once again. We're the ones that are being demonized at the moment. So for every conference that is willing to hear the message and understand and really think about different ways to engage the community, especially our youth, as our schools become hostile grounds, our communities become hostile grounds, it's a way that we can engage a little bit differently. I just had a really wonderful live discussion in the elective, the LGBT focused elective, on just talking about reparative therapy and conversion therapy. And that's also where I kind of do my advocacy work, is in our program. I was very happy that when I presented this class to Dr. Foster, she was all about it. I almost cried because it's a dream of mine to do this, because y'all need the information. You need to know how to actually engage the community more than a chapter or a module in the multicultural class. I'm hoping to grow it. I'm hoping to do more about it. I'm very involved also in reviewing the K-CREP standards and how do we incorporate multicultural? How do we do this? How do we do that? So it's more on the education side of things. Also working on establishing a chapter of SAGE. So hopefully Dr. Crowley and I can work on that, because now the laws that have been floating through other states have finally started floating through my state. I used to say that, yeah, welcome to South Carolina. At least we're not Florida. So now it's like, welcome to South Carolina. At least we're not Florida yet. So we're getting there, and it's super scary. So I'd like to kind of like redouble our efforts to focus on the community, focus on the most vulnerable of us, and kind of dispel these myths and these dominant narratives that are just like totally and wholly incorrect most of the time. So yeah, any conference that's willing to hear the message, any space and place that's willing to hear the message, any doc student, any CMHC student who's like really wants to get into this, I welcome them to join. I recruited a couple of doc students into the elective with me. So yeah, and I'm involved with Pride Plus, and just really making sure that we as a community and we as a program really focus on this. So yeah, that's kind of my thing at the moment.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Any other faculty want to jump in who haven't had a chance? I'm trying to look through my list of attendees. Dr. Dixon, do you have a minute now?
I can make a minute. Let's see. It's a hard group to follow, isn't it? I guess for me, a lot of my career outside of academics has been working with a lot of court-ordered individuals, in the sense that I work a little differently than some of the others who had mentioned, specifically going to court for individuals. I work with a lot of, and have worked with a lot of specialty courts, still work with many of those, but a lot of times I also do a lot of assessment work for individuals, and my job mostly is to advocate for their treatment, their mental health treatment, their substance abuse treatment, what they need, as opposed to going to jail, going to prison, other family related things like working with Child Protective Services, work with foster and adopt families, various types. And then because we spend so much time doing academic stuff, I try, while I'm working with my clients, to work with as much marginalized clients as I can. Most of what I do is pro bono. I just kind of feel that way. I've always kind of had that soft spot where it's hard, as many of you will experience, it's hard to make money what we're doing sometimes when you see people who desperately need it. So in a lot of cases, I work with families who cannot afford it, and work in a lot of those communities to make sure that their schools, their families, whoever it is, gets the services they need. And that's just a little bit. Anyone left?
Thank you. Anyone else? Dr. Gilliard, if you're able to come on. Or Dr. Robinson, if you have anything else.
I knew that was going to happen. I'll keep mine really short. Historically, I've done a lot of advocacy through leadership. Currently, I'm serving on a diversity, equity, and inclusion board for the Association for Humanistic Counseling. I'm also serving on a nonprofit board, which is a bevy, and they go into different schools and support mental health and well-being. Similar to Dr. Troutman, I do a lot of advocacy through research and really being able to highlight the experiences and shared experiences of specific, just marginalized populations. A lot of my work is with people of color, BIPOC individuals. So a lot of my counseling work is geared towards that. A lot of my research and presentations are also centered on that. So a lot of my advocacy efforts is through research, leadership, and presenting at the national, state, and local level. I'll also offer to speak in different places and share more about cultural competency in different workplace settings to just continue to bridge that gap that, you know, just even people who are outside of our profession that don't really know, you know, the areas that they have blind spots and the areas that they're limited in, being able to make sure that, you know, everyone in some way is connected in figuring out how they can be a safe space for the people that they encounter outside of the counseling profession. So that's just a little bit about what I do. But most of my stuff is really related to minority populations and BIPOC individuals.
And I can go, Colleen. Similar to Dr. Van Meter, Dr. E, and Dr. Moore, I really, right now in this season, I focus in a lot on legislative change. I'm on a committee for my state chapter, a government relations committee. We routinely get to speak on issues in front of the legislature, the wellness committee of the legislature, the full legislature, on things that are important. I forget which faculty member said that it may have been Dr. Crowley, that lots of times legislators just, the bills that become laws are based off of, experience, and it's not necessarily based on what is in the best interest of individuals where mental health is related. And so it's very important to me. I got to work in Louisiana. That's where I live. I got to work on the committee that moved the compact forward in our state. That was such a momentous and historic day for us to see the counseling community come together and cross state lines and cross barriers like never before. That has been probably one of the highlights of my legislative work. I also work with human trafficking, donorship, surrogacy, adoption, fostering, and also moving forward legislation that really protects children and the rights of families where that's concerned. That's some of probably the two areas that I'm currently working in that I find a lot of meaning and purpose in, coupled with what that looks like for trauma. I told a legislator last year, I said, let's do a pop quiz. How many beds are there in the state of Louisiana for individuals who identify as male who've been trafficked? Dr. Van Meter, you can't guess the answer, but any faculty member want to guess? Dr. Moore, you can't guess either. You already know the answer. Do you know how many? 0. That's how many there are in my state. And so that's right, Paris, none. That's why it was so, it's such important work. I mean, when you sit across from a legislator who's about to pass a funding bill and cuts resources for victims of human trafficking, and doesn't understand the equity issues that exist, that's some of the most important advocacy work I've ever done in my life, some of the most rewarding. And so we all started just like everybody else on the call. It started with questioning something or having a desire to learn more or do more. And so again, my suggestion would be to ask who needs help, who wants a volunteer. Ask, because you'd be surprised the number of yeses you get and the number of doors that opens for you if you're interested in doing advocacy work. Colleen, we have about 13 minutes. Did any questions come through the chat, or does any student want to come up and ask any questions of the faculty?
Can I just say, I'm sorry. I was just going to say really quickly, Susan, to Dr. Foster, I'm sorry, to piggyback on what you said, was just I remember being a master's student and looking at my professors and thinking, oh my gosh, y'all are so impressive. And to never think that I could be one of them, but to just say to you all are potentially the leaders in the field, and you all can and will be us one day, just do it. Like be hungry, be the sponge and do it. And sorry, Dr. Robinson, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I appreciate you saying that, because we're all growing and developing. Like, we never reach a level where we know it all or we have it all together. These are things that have accumulated over the years, I'm sure, for most faculty. But I wanted to share that, get involved with your local or your state branch of ACA. A lot of times they're doing a lot of leadership things. Like, I know LPCA of Georgia is doing a movement at the Capitol where they're going to go in and sit with, different, senators, legislation, all of those things. That's the compact law. So just really think about how you might be able to get involved with your state branch, because oftentimes they're doing a lot of things if you just want to, find different things to do. Additionally, there are lots of leadership opportunities for students with several organizations. I know many of them do like an emerging leadership program. So, if you are a student and you're looking for, to have additional mentorship and things like that, just get active and get involved. There's so many ways to do that, no matter where you are in the program. So I don't think you have to wait, or, you're not knowledgeable enough. There's somebody that will be willing to take you under their wing. And there are many opportunities that honestly, like, we have difficulty filling, because students can be intimidated by the process, but just know that you can, and there are opportunities for you to do that. So just look and, talk to your advisor or talk to any of us, feel free to reach out.
And also volunteering opportunities. American Counseling Association conference, they call for volunteers where you can actually go and attend the conference. And usually it's like it may be a discounted rate, but you can sit in on all of the sessions. Association for Play Therapy, they call for volunteers. Theirs goes out in, I think, June, and the conference is in October. But and all the divisions, they have call for volunteers. So volunteer, because you can get possibly your registration, if not completely waived, but partially waived, but you're getting like a wealth of educational experiences that would cost you way more money than if you did not volunteer. So it's well worth that.
Our state also has a day at the Capitol, and lots of other states follow suit. And so that would also be something to ask your state counseling association chapter. Like, is there a day at the Capitol? That is a great way to meet other people in various stages of their career. That's a great way to meet other people who are volunteering and invested in the organization. And it's free. And how great is it that you get to see all of the bills that are potentially going to affect your state? You'll get to hear them and see them and be an active part in that. And it's a free process. And so there are so many ways to get involved. And what I would say is, if you heard a faculty member talk tonight and you were inspired by something they said, reach out to them and ask them, how can I get involved? Because they may be able to point you in a direction we just simply didn't talk about tonight. Questions or comments? We have about 9 minutes left. I want to be a good steward of your time. Anybody have any questions or comments regarding anything you heard tonight that you want to share?
I have a quick question. I looking at my phone at the time, but somebody was I live in Georgia. I plan on being licensed in Georgia. I wanted to know who was speaking when they were talking about the LPCA or something like that, so that I could reach out to them.
That would be.
Oh, go ahead, Dr. Robinson. Sorry.
Nope, that's fine. That's me. I'm in Georgia.
I'm sorry. What was your name? I'm not looking at my phone.
No,
Sorry.
Dr. Chanel Robinson.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
I noted it in the chat too, but I'm going to put the form link in the online forum so that students can go through and kind of complete areas of interest. And if you want to note on there, if you are interested in advocacy information, feel free.
Good stuff, right?
I have a quick question.
Sure.
As a new student, and when I say new, I mean 3 weeks new, what would be your advice for where to go? I'm looking at the form right now and I'm like, oh, with clinical specialties of interest, I have a very, at this point in time, limited view, right? I'm thinking about I don't want to say popular because that's the wrong word, but the most well-known areas of interest. So what would be your advice for where I should seek out more information regarding areas of interest, theoretical frameworks, and things
Who's
of
your
that?
advisor, Kim?
Yep. I need to look that up, Susan. So go to that person.
That's a good place to start. Colleen, can you tell us who that is?
Yeah, it's probably Dr. Moore.
Hey, Dr. Moore. I'll be in contact.
Hello. Yes. I'm going to be, for those of y'all who are my new advisees, I'm going to be posting an announcement tomorrow, scheduling just a time for group advisees, just for my, I call you newbies, sorry. But for my new, students who are new to the program, just to give you an orientation of just what to expect in the program, covering everything from field work to residencies to things, but just basic questions, and then also looking at course schedulers. So, and then from there, we can look at individual.
You muted yourself, Dr. Moore.
Oh, sorry. So yes, more to come, but yes, I'm your advisor. So
Thank you.
good to have you.
Good to
And
be here.
Kim, the other thing I would say when you're looking at the form, if it just looks interesting to you, mark it.
Okay.
Yeah, if it,
Will
I
do.
mean, you don't have to be an expert in it. It just has to seem interesting to you.
Mm-hmm. Another thing, a good general spot to look is if you go through the Chicago School site, you can do a faculty finder, and all of our faculty have bios summarizing areas of study, areas of work in the profession as well. So that's just a good kind of baseline. In addition to looking at our program website, so just the CMHC program website or CES, because it lists core competencies and even the curriculum summaries, those go into details like that too. So just some basic foundational information, just a quick couple clicks away.
And what I would say, we're getting some advising questions in the forum. What I would say is you can absolutely send your advisor an individual message and say, hey, when are we going to touch base? A lot of that can be found, though, if you're looking in the counselor education department page. There's great information in there. And then your CES or your CMHC faculty advising page. Each of your advisors will post announcements about group advising office hours, all of those other sorts of things. And Colleen said, if you look in your student portal, your faculty advisor will be listed there. All right. Did we lose Colleen? There she is.
No, I'm here. Any other questions? Dennis? Sorry.
No, all good. Thank you, Colin. This is kind of a long shot, but do we know where the residency site for summer 2 would be? Yeah.
It's not nearly as a long shot as you think it might be. Colleen, do you want to do the honors?
Sure. We're 99.9% confirmed for the Chicago campus. But there is a residency page in that online forum that will, once we are 100% confirmed, it will be posted there. The Chicago campus is currently in the midst of a move and office reorganization. So right now we're supposed to be able to be there, but if the move doesn't go well, I don't want to overcommit and underdeliver. So plan on coming to Chicago close to the end of July.
Awesome. I look forward to that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions? They will love residency. Residency in March will be in Chicago. So if you're a spring 2 residency, you will be in Chicago. All right, we're actually going to give you 2 whole minutes of your night back. Don't spend them all in one place. Take good care of yourself in those 2 minutes. Colleen will be posting the link for this recording, and she will also be posting the survey. So be on the lookout for that. And we really thank you for coming out 152 strong tonight. See you soon.
Thanks, everybody.
Good
Thanks
night,
for you.
everybody. Thank you.
Thank you all. Good night.